Previously on the BBI, after resurrecting this beautiful rare Ferrari, we finally got around to starting the restoration on this iconic flat 12 engine, and with only 6,420 miles on it, the plan was to get it rightfully back into the condition it first left the factory and totally deserved. A combination of ice blasting, vapor blasting, powder coating, replating, and not to mention a vast amount of money, we slowly resurrected this neglected, weather-beaten heart of the BBI. However, we still hadn't rebuilt the internals or even fully figured out just why this BBI had suddenly been parked up and left for so many years. That part was going to require the help of our expert and guru on anything engines, Ricky from RE Performance. But before we can enlist his help, there's one more vital component of the engine that we have to fix first: the very complex fuel metering system.
Okay, so we've got a couple of things I want to address on the doors here. Firstly, thank you for all of your comments, all of your thoughts on what we should do on the inside here. Whether I should clean it all up, make it look perfect, pristine, or should I leave it as Ferrari sent it out of the factory? Vast majority of you have said leave it as it came from Maranello. So that is what we're going to do. The second problem I've got right now is my door, as you can see, does not stay shut because we've got no locks in it, which is making me paranoid that we're going to get some kind of rodent in here chewing all the wiring, chewing up all the interior of what's left of it. So what I'm going to do is put the inner part here of the inner door card in place, just temporarily. I'm going to have to rivet it, unfortunately, but it means I can then put the lock in and the door will shut. Now, if you remember before, I said all of this is part of one unit, and to take the cable off will require me getting a new one. So I'm not going to do that unless I really have to. So for now, let's put it in place. You need to give these locks a good old clean up as well. Come over here quickly, you'll see on my makeshift laptop desk we have a wiring diagram for the BBI. In the last video I questioned if this even exists, but both Paul and Francis kindly sent me the BBI wiring diagram, which means I can finally figure out all those wiring gremlins we had from the last video. But it does mean we've got to go old school and look at all of these individually. And unfortunately, with these old cars, that's the way you got to do it. But luckily, with modern cars, there's a much easier way to diagnose them. Now, most of you will have heard of Carly before, but if you haven't, it's a genius little device that plugs into your car's OBD2 port. Recently, I complained about just how bad the battery life was on this Tesla. Well, I'm running something rather cool on Carly called Vampire Drain Check. I then plug the Carly dongle into my OBD2 port, open up the Carly app, which then scans my car. And then I start the Vampire Check, which will give me precise information on the passive decrease of my battery level. Okay, the results are in, and guess what? Vampire Drain Check on the Tesla, status is bad. No surprises there. Now the great thing is it's given me a load of tips here in order to solve the problem. One is turn off Sentry mode. We don't have that on this Tesla. Second one is unplug USB devices. Now that's an interesting one because down here I've got my USB dash cam plugged in that is often on most of the night. So that is definitely going to get switched off every time I get out of the car. Third one, deactivate intelligent climate and turn off climate before leaving the car. Again, that is always left on, as long with all of the heated seats. So again, we need to turn that off when we get out of the car. And then finally, deactivate the cabin overheat protection. I'm going to follow all those tips, and hopefully that's going to improve the battery health on my Tesla. And if Carly can help me improve my battery health, that means I charge the car less, which puts more money back in my pocket. Now, unbelievably, while I was just filming that, my nephew was called to say, unfortunately last night he had a bit of a prang in his BMW and he wants me to go round to help him assess the damage and if it's all repairable. So we're going to take Carly with us to help do exactly that.
I plugged Carly into the BMW, run a check, and moments later we got the results. Well, as expected, the BMW health is very bad. We've got 33 different errors on here. Let's have a look at some of these and figure out if it's worth fixing this car. Now we're going to start by doing a deep dive into the 9 detected issues on the engine. It's nice and simple to read with different severities of problems, all colour coded, ours all being from red through to yellow. Great thing I really like is for each error we have a list of options such as ask the community, or we can get in touch with a smart mechanic, or we can do something really simple and do a quick check on the internet. Now for our code 150202, which equates to a combustion duration 2 short in cylinder number 2, and the suggestion is a misfire or ignition problem, potentially just a spark plug or coil pack replacement. So nothing major here and nothing expensive. And there you go, we're now going to run through all 33 of the problems Carly's detected, and using all of the tools we've got at our fingertips, try and figure out if it's worth repairing this BMW. And that's just a couple of examples on how I use Carly all the time on my cars and my family's cars, saving time and money diagnosing problems. And naturally, I always recommend Carly to everyone. You can download Carly yourself from the App Store or from Google Play, and if you use my discount code Ratarossa, or click on the link in the description below the video, you're going to save a lovely 15%.
Now, if only you can also invent a time machine, fly back to 1983 and install an OBD2 connector on the BBI, well, that would make today's mission much more simple.
Now in the last video I had great success reinstalling many of the electrical components on the BBI, but I did have a couple of issues, one of which was I didn't actually spot this until the video came out, and luckily you guys commented on it. One of my headlights was not working, so using the new wiring diagram I quickly managed to track that down to a loose connection. I also worked out that the spotlights, which are actually flasher units, also were wired incorrectly.
Yay!
And then, as recommended by somebody, I tried a couple of drops of oil in the horns to try and free them up, but unfortunately that was no fix, so it's back to the drawing board.
Alright guys, we're en route down to Martin at Grey Goose Restorations. Thanks to everyone who recommended him, because he's been working on the Bosch fuel metering units and a couple of other bits for the BBI, and right now I am super excited. He sent me some pictures and the work he's done is phenomenal. These things look like new. They're all fully tested as well. In fact, they look better than new. Let's go check them out.
The fuel system on the BBI is pretty complex. It's made up of several components, mainly the large fuel metering unit itself, a warm-up regulator, 12 injectors, and what's referred to as the cold start valve. Each of these play a vital role in the BBI running correctly, and if just one of those is set incorrectly or it has the tiniest bit of dirt inside, then that will wreak havoc with the engine's running ability. Now this type of job really does require the hand of an expert, which in this case is definitely not me. So Martin, the man in the shed, kindly accepted the challenge. So let's find out just how bad my fuel system really is. He starts by stripping down both units to visually inspect them. Now, as I've mentioned before, this main fuel meter unit has not been touched at all, so all of the dirt is the years of build up from where the car just sat still.
Now, first thing, seized. Seized. So both these units are seized, which means that fuel pin inside there, which is the same principle as this fuel pin, where it goes up, that directs the fuel out. I can't move these pins, which means that is stuck in that position. So if you were to power these up with fuel pressure, they're set to maximum fuel at the moment, so as soon as you get fuel pressure in there, it's going to just flood the engine straight away. So it's definitely a good choice to get these over and get these rebuilt.
He then strips apart the head to see what is causing the pin to stick, and also at the same time to replace all the internal seals, gaskets, and to get it perfectly clean inside.
We've got the parts back from the Vapor Blaster, so we've got this one rebuilt and ready to test. So look how nice that's come up. And even to the point of the plastic housing there, that's absolutely beautiful. So this is set, ready to test. One thing to note on this, because then it's a double bank, so everything's got to be perfect, is this air plate. Like I said before, they were both wrong. So you want that to spring back and sit perfectly. So in these funnels or air cones, there is one section probably about a mil, maybe mil and a half, 2 mil wide, which is a vertical cylindrical shape to fit around these plates. And then obviously the upper part where the air comes in is tapered, the bottom part is tapered again. The air plate is a certain line where you won't be able to see it on the camera, where the air plate has to sit. And it's absolute paramount that these sit. I can't see the line of it at the moment. So for example, this plate is as thick as the line it needs to line up with. So I can't see that line where it's set. And as soon as I even touch it, put any weight in it, I can see the line, the ridge. So what you need to make sure is this one and the other one, these air plates are absolutely perfect. If this air plate's off by, you like literally are only talking half a mil, it will change how one bank's running, because one bank will be laterally running lean. Because if that's half mil down, as soon as the engine draws air in, that moves down. That air plate is already half a mil down, which means that is going to be sending more fuel out. So you could have one rich and one lean. So we'll just run it through a full test now. So we'll let that settle down. This is on its basic adjustments, as in flow adjusters. You're on 80 and a bit, nearly 90, 90, 80. So that's not too bad for initial. Now again, that's all these flow adjusters that sit in the top of here. They're all down exactly the same amount. So we'll just tweak. We've got number 1 and number 6. I'll probably tweak those two a bit more and a bit more, and then run the test again. Now adjusting these, if I adjust number 1, that doesn't mean that number 1 is just going to get fuel. So if you adjust any one of these adjusters, that can have a negative or a positive effect on any of these cylinders. That's why balancing takes the longest time. Some just happy balance, some can be a nightmare.
All right, so we have come to pick up the units a couple of weeks later.
Hello.
The man Martin here.
How's it going?
Cheers, buddy.
Good to see you.
Very good to see you too, and very exciting. Okay, so he has done the whole of the fuel system for me here. We've got the metering units, we've got the warm-up regulators, and we've got something special actually we'll talk about in a second. So, any problems? Obviously, I saw a couple of pictures from you. They didn't look like they were in the best condition.
They weren't the worst, but the worst thing was on these, the fuel pins inside, like I said, they were seized. So if you would have just plugged these in the car and fueled it up, you're going to get 12 cylinders dumping a lot of fuel, and KJet kicks out a lot of fuel. So yeah, you'd have flooded the engine almost instantly. So that was good. We got those out. It was gummed up a bit. Again, fuel sitting for a while just gums up. All the little mini filters were gummed up.
Yeah, I guess with that, I mean, that wouldn't have been turned over for 15 years, something like that. So definitely right thing to do then, to get it all
100%,
rebuilt.
yeah, definitely on. Mainly, like I say, the pins were stuck, so that would have just ruined you straight away.
Yeah. Well, the cool thing with those is I hadn't done anything with them, so when we dropped them off, they were as they came off the car.
They were,
you know, cleaned them up a little bit, but yeah, they now look like new again.
Like new, yeah.
Brilliant job. And then the other thing that was really shocking was the warm-up regulators. So when you open those up,
yeah, that was a mess. I mean, obviously it looked all right on the outside, but like I say, as soon as I pulled it apart, it was just, I mean, I've seen some mad ones, but that was just like full of sand, like media stuff. So it was just, it's gone in through the holes there, in through the hole. And obviously you've got rubber diaphragms, which they don't move much. You're only talking maybe 1 or 2 mil movement. You've got that full of dirt and grit in there. Function, it may have worked if it was unblocked. Like I said,
so it basically, when they were blasted, these all should have been bunged up, shouldn't they?
And it just gone, and if any moisture, any fuel residue there was, it just sticks to it and just gums up everything.
Yeah.
It's just
so
like,
that would have had no chance of working properly.
No, it would have killed the diaphragm straight away, and then the diaphragm's the main bits, especially with 2 banks, Like the hardest bit of this was getting those pretty much exactly the same balance, even though they're interlinked. If one of those is slightly off, it means that bank's going to be either lean or rich. So you're going to have, you know, one off on the other. So making sure they're, like I say, full of dirt in there, you have a diaphragm fail or even start seeping, it's just going to cause nightmare, especially on a performance engine. You want
so
it to be.
Confidence is high now that when we put this together, as long as we get all the lines, I'm going to blast out all the lines and make sure that, you know, there's no gunk in those. Yeah, I'm definitely, I feel a lot better about putting these on the car now. And then the final thing you have very, very kindly done for me is, unfortunately, again, when we had both the cold start valves, we call these cold start valves, when we had these blasted and well, zinc plated, they got a little bit of zinc plating on them, the plastic here looks like it didn't fare up very well. It's pretty much melted, hasn't it?
Yeah.
So
God knows.
Martin has been very, very kind. He's going to switch these. Hopefully these should work fine. They just look terrible, and obviously we're trying to get this looking really great. They should look like this. The nice bright blue connectors there. And actually, we did this wrong. They shouldn't have been zinc plated. They should just be the kind of silver finish. So he's going to exchange those for me. We got something really nice, and hopefully again it's going to work on the system. So anyway, Mad, thank you so much for that, guys. If you want to, if you've got any systems like this is the man to do it. I'm going to put all his details in the description below the video. This is his YouTube channel. Do yourselves a favor, give him a follow. He's got some fantastic videos out there and some very, very cool stuff relating to this, and some restoration stuff as well.
Yes, definitely.
On things like this.
Yes.
Very cool indeed. Anyway, thank you very much, mate.
Worries.
All right, with our metering unit all back, looking pristine and fully tested, we are gradually getting all the components for the engine back together, so that can all go off down to Ricky, and he can check it all over, fix whatever is needed on it. But there is one more little dilemma here that I would like your opinion on. It's all to do with these. What we've got here is all of the fuel lines for the BBI. So we've got two different types. We've got 12 along the top there of this type. So it's got a kind of banjo bolt connector at one end. Now that then connects to these banjo bolts on top of the fuel distribution unit over there. And then the other end here, that, as you can see, connects to our injectors. So it plugs into the top there. That bolts on top, and that's our fuel injection system. So we've got 12 of those, so 6 on each side of the car, 6 there, 6 on the other one. And then we've got this type as well with the two kind of banjo bolt connectors either end. Now these type connect to other parts, I don't know, such like this bit over here, and the other end then connects to things like your cold start valve here on the end, or warm-up regulator here. So those two, we've got double on this one actually. So I've got to figure all that out. But my question really is, these were plated, these were, I don't know if they were blasted. I just want to know, obviously we've got a fuel line all the way down here. Really, I'm paranoid that if we've got any kind of gunk in here from the cleaning process, as we really did, as you saw on camera, really with the warm-up regulator, when Martin opened up that, you saw the amount of gunk that had got in through that hole there and that hole there. It looks horrendous. So the chances are on at least 1 or 2 of these, we've got some kind of gunk in them. So how do we ensure that we haven't got any kind of debris that's gone into the fuel lines there, into the holes? Same thing with these, you know, how do we make sure? Now I can blast them with a compressor, but any tiny little bit of dirt in there is going to basically just ruin everything that Martin has done on all of this system. So we need to make sure that these are 100% clean, and any suggestion on how I do that, drop them in the comments below.
One last job of the day with some finishing touches to the exterior of the BBI. The single motor system is a pretty funky unit, and after testing the motor in the last video, we knew it all to be good and ready for install.
Now, fortunately, in the last video, I happened to mention it would be really handy to have access to another BBI, which will assist with jobs like this. Anyway, I've had two lovely owners here in the UK who have both got right-hand drive BBIs and said that I can have a look at their cars. And they're not too far away, so that's really going to be handy. However, both of those cars are currently away being serviced. So once they're back, we'll probably pay them a visit, and well, I've never even sat in another BBI, so it'll be great for me, and we'll get some different BBI content on the channel. And in the process, is going to help me with this. Well guys, that is all we got time for on the BBI today. I'm going to finish off a few extra jobs on that side of the car. Don't forget, you can check out what I get up to around this place on my socials, where I post on a daily basis. And check out today's video sponsor for that awesome Carly Diagnostics. You can save 15% by using my discount code Ratarossa. I'll see you guys all in the next one. Stay safe and ciao for now.